Hello everyone, welcome to my completely natural and totally how it is all the time setup in my apartment where I have a chair right in front of my bookshelf and have a IKEA desk lamp, LED desk lamp, like pointed directly into my eye. If you see this glare on this bookshelf, that's also going right in there. So, the reason why I'm doing this video is because it's almost 2019. It's the Friday before Christmas, and I'm gonna fly back home to Massachusetts tomorrow morning, and I have this week off of work, and I have ideas that I want to make a reality for the future of my blog, my wiki, my whole library archive project. Um, and it seems to me that a week off of work, basically at the beginning of a new year, is a really good time to try and do some of that, to try and get some of that off the ground. So, while I'm obviously aware that family holiday stuff always ends up taking up more time than you think it will, I think it's possible for me to do, I think I came down to a list of about 6 things that they're all essentially get this started, not really finish anything, but I'm thinking this might actually work. And so I wanted to basically rope you all into being my accountability buddies. I'm hoping that if I make this video and I post it publicly and people watch it and comment and hopefully, tell me that they think it sounds good or they give me suggestions and, like, share, and subscribe. I don't really care if you do any of that. My topic is so niche. I'm pretty sure, I know. Anyway, but I would appreciate comments. So yeah, I'm hoping that if I do that, I'll actually feel obligated. Hopefully not in a crippling way, because I've done that to myself in the past, where I've committed to something and then had like a total breakdown. Because thank you, ADHD, for my poor sense of time and desire to please everybody. And also just wild ideas that get away from me. It's wonderful, but it's also annoying. So, first and foremost, as you all know, Tumblr is over. Everyone's abandoning ship, which we all wanted to do anyway. Which has actually always, for the past year and a half, has, honestly been at least part of the reason why I haven't posted to my blog in like a year and a half. It's not the main reason. It's not a huge portion, but it is part of it. That even when I had time and something to say, I was just like, I don't want to go on Tumblr. And if you follow me on Twitter, last week you might have noticed I was, being salty about domain names and certain web platforms that I have been using for other things, i.e. the Women in Comics Wiki, which is hosted on Wikia. Their terms of service have been similarly odious as the new Tumblr ones, which is actually a lot more of a problem for me than actually the Tumblr terms of service are, because my Tumblr was pretty tame. I kind of kept it that way on purpose. I did sort of start that ladies making com xxx side blog, that I only updated for like a month. but yeah, I've had content taken down. Not my content, but like important historical and artistic content. I mean, I've had Eileen Kaminsky Crumb and Melinda Gebbie and Terry Richards art basically taken down. I've had um, essentially, I mean, frankly, just European. Guess what, guys? Europe doesn't give a shit about boobs. They're like, whatever, yeah, boobs, fine. And they'll put them on anything. And nobody is so antsy about that. But so, and even though all of these, comics, these book covers, are the pictures are there to, illustrate the article, which is literally all the context, right? It's not like, here's boobs, look at them. It's, hey, look what feminist cartoonists in the 1970s were doing. Maybe this is an important historical, uh, an important historical artifact, and we should, just remember it. Wiki is like, no. So I figure since Tumblr's over, and I want to find a new place. That's number one, by the way. Number one is to decide where I want to move all my Tumblr content to, and then to actually do that. So by January 1st, I want to have actually moved my Tumblr posts, archived them in a new place that's more under my control. Yeah, number two is not so much to get anything really done on this front because this is a much bigger undertaking, but yeah, to also look into basically hosting and running my own wiki. But that's obviously a whole other thing. That's like a real website that I need. I can't just like, it's not like a WordPress blog, which is probably where my Tumblr will end up anyway, but yeah, it's a pretty big undertaking, so I need to really look into my options there, both for like the amount of server space that I'll probably need, even just to move the stuff I already have on the current wiki. Basically make a decision about the future of the Women in Comics wiki. I'm definitely going to move it. I'm definitely going to find a new place for it. Again, hopefully actually like just doing it all myself, building it up from scratch, but that is a huge undertaking, so I'm gonna take it slow, right? That's what I mean by I'm going to make a decision. That's the goal. I did, by the way, already buy the domain name womenincomics.wiki, which is great. And someday, hopefully, I will be able to have the domain name ladiesmaking.comics, but we'll see about that. Okay, now number 3. Speaking of internet platforms that are dependent on our content to exist being garbage, both for just my own personal life and also this whole thing that I've got going on here. I'm looking to really extract myself as much as possible from Amazon, Facebook. I'm really gonna go through like all of my social media in a week, in like less than a week technically, because I'm not gonna be able to do it all the time. But yeah, I'm gonna try and really make decisions about my social media presence, just mitigation, sort of for my own personal security. for my own privacy, um, but also just because it's not like quite as easy as just stopping using all of these services and platforms for me, because it's like in the context of all of this, like personally, I could drop my Facebook. I have not really used Facebook since my mom got a Facebook. So, however, there is a private, secret, invite only comics history group, which is amazing. Like, pretty much any comics history book that has been published in the past 20 years, the author is in that group, right? Trina Robbins is in there, Sean Howe is in there, Mark Evanier is in there. But the point is, there's lots of really cool people in there. And a lot of them are also, just creators. So it's a really, really great resource, and it's a really great community. So I literally can't leave that. I mean, literally I could, but I don't want to. So there's that. And then as for things like Amazon, the thing is with the Women's Sequential Art Library, my collection and archive of women and comics related things, a lot of times Amazon really is literally the only place I can find what I'm looking for. If it's, something, with a limited print run from, the 80s, yeah, that's mostly just going to be on Amazon. And things coming from Europe, a lot of times, that's Amazon's basically the place I can find them. I have been trying to recently, like over the past year or so, if I can buy a book from, like, directly from the publisher, I do that. To be more directly supportive, to, cut out the middleman. I don't actually know how much that matters. And then even then, sometimes, like for this New Zealand anthology, I asked them, because they obviously on their website they didn't really have shipping rates to the United States because that's really far. I asked them, is there some way I can just buy it from you directly? I don't need, rapid shipping. I don't care if it takes 2 months to get here. Whatever. And they were like, oh no, it's fine. You can just use Amazon UK. We have a deal with. I'm like, oh, I want to buy it from you. That's less something that, all y'all are gonna see. But it's still important. It's still important to the progression of this whole thing I've got going on here. I really need to come up with like a name, and maybe that'll be like a side goal along with, I don't know. It's more of an over umbrella goal, really, is to come up with an umbrella name for all the crap I've got going on for Ladies Making Comics, for the Women in Comics Wiki, for the Women's Sequential Art Library. I need a name for all that stuff. So yeah. Number 3, mitigate my data footprint without compromising my mission here, right? Okay, that's a good way to put it. Speaking of the Women's Sequential Art Library, which is not this behind me, it's in my bedroom, which is would be even harder to do a setup like this in, so that's why I'm not doing it there. Yeah, so that is just a bookcase full of stuff, right? What is the point of a library if other people can't use it? Now, for one thing, the idea of setting up premises is just, no, that's just not going to work. not enough people are going to use it enough to justify, what would be, I'm sure, a very extravagant cost. But also um, because I've spent so much time and money, curating and collecting all this stuff, and because a lot of it is pretty rare, um, the idea of letting other people touch it, touch everything, really gives me anxiety. Like, I would want to be just sort of like standing, not really hovering over them, but just a little behind, sort of glancing, just making sure everything's going okay. Even if, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't want anybody to bring these books home, and I definitely, uh, it would be like, you can do this on the premises, and that's it. And it's like, okay, so there's this one location in the world. That seems like a massive waste. But what I've always kind of wanted to do with it anyway, was to, digitize anything that's not already digitized. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff in there that was published within the past, 8 years. So a lot of that's already got, digital copies. It's on Comixology, or it's got, I got the PDF because I backed the Kickstarter, and, they threw that in with the physical copy. Yeah, that's a thing that actual libraries do. They have a digital collection that anybody can just sort of read, or like members can read, depending. And they also do just like flat out ebook borrowing. So yeah, I want to, I really do want to, set that up again. Not going to set it up this weekend, but again, find a platform for it. Find what seems like the best like infrastructure options that I could license. How much would that cost? Again, hosting issues, blah blah blah. Really, a lot of this is just going to be about um, looking up prices, getting quotes. But we're talking about money, and we're talking about my extremely niche and nerdy archiving and blah blah blah. Point is, this sounds like a job for a 501c3. Number 5 is going to be look into, make a definite list of what is necessary to set up a 501c3 under Maryland law, because that's where I live. I kind of looked into it once before, and my eyes kind of glazed over when I got to, you need a board of directors. For one thing, it would just be a really good way to sort of organize my life, to really help me seriously, partition a lot away from sort of my own headspace for my stuff, versus, you know, projects for posterity, stuff I'm not really doing for myself, but stuff I'm doing because I think, even to some small extent, society will glean some kind of benefit from it. And also, again, speaking of money, there are grants out there for this sort of thing, for archiving, or, research and all that stuff. Like through the National Endowment for the Humanities and stuff like that. So, but again, most of that stuff isn't available to individuals. It has to be for a nonprofit. So if I'd ever want to pursue that avenue, where I would be, instead of begging all of you for money, instead begging like universities or the federal government for money, that hasn't been cut yet. Number 5 is set up a checklist for all that is necessary to set up a 501c3 in my home state. And number 6 is just read comics. Read some comics. Specifically, I again, recently remembered that I have a NetGalley account, which, if you don't know, is a service for book bloggers uh, to get advanced readers copies of get review copies of books. And there are lots of graphic novels on there. And so I remembered that I had a NetGalley account. I went on there and I requested everything. And the thing is, some of them expire. Like the files you download um, will eventually stop working. And in some cases, if I think about 6 of the ones that I downloaded, that's December 31st or January 1st. So it's soon. So I really actually do, that is a deadline. I need to read those comics by the time that date rolls around. But in addition to reviewing them, the thing is, one of the books um, that expires, I think, December 31st, is a cookbook. I have other comics cookbooks just sort of casually behind me here. And I got to thinking, like, what I like watching on YouTube, and yeah, cooking shows. Everything from binging with Babish to Townsend's. If you don't watch Townsend's, it's great. It's this guy who's like a colonial reenactor. He just like makes all this like colonial era, like 18th century like food and stuff. It's great. And I love that stuff. And so I just think, wouldn't it be great to have like a comics review and cooking show, cooking recipes from comic book, comic cookbooks, recipe books. Also because it's going to be the first of the year and I need to, watch what I eat, and I'm planning on cutting back on eating out and, making more meals at home and blah, blah, blah. So goal number 6 is to read all the comics that I currently have that it will be impossible for me to read after January 1st, and then review them and also maybe do a cooking show based on one of them. That's it. So to recap, that's pick a new platform for hosting my old Tumblr material and probably also future blogging material, and actually move it. Actually finish that before. Number 2 is to look into my wiki hosting options. 3 is to mitigate my current digital footprint. And also, hopefully, find better platforms that are not, at least currently, controlled by sociopaths. Goal 4, library. Look into my digital ebook lending library options for the Women's Sequential Art Library. Yeah, that's what it says on the tin. 5, make a checklist of the steps and whatever else that needs to be done in order to properly found a 501c3 nonprofit organization in the state of Maryland. And 6, actually read some comics and then cook some food based on comics. So, fingers crossed, right? Please, I could really use encouragement or even just feedback on this. Do these sound like good ideas? Are these crazy? I mean, obviously the mitigating my digital footprint is just sense these days, but I mean, are these things other people would want to use? I don't know. I mean, I'll probably still do it all anyway, but it is also, feedback would also, again, help me gauge Whether I'd be more inclined to go more towards crowdfunding, or if it's really that niche, then yeah, I can just go through the arduous grant writing process, but whatever. But yeah, really encouragement would be the most appreciated thing. And accountability. That's what I'm really after with all this here, is that's what I really need. Is encouragement and accountability. If you're watching this and you want to be one of my accountability buddies, congratulations, you are. Twitter is the best place to find me, really. And there will be a link somewhere. I do have a Patreon. I've got one patron. It only charges anytime I post like real content. So like I don't even think this would count. So yeah, there'll be links probably in the end card, whatever. I've only sort of vaguely done things on YouTube before. I just sort of know what other people say at the end of their YouTube videos. Like, share, and subscribe. Whatever, do what you want. Happy holidays.